Hello and welcome to episode 133 of Renaissance Men, Date Night Edition.
Oh, yeah.
That there is Seddon, I'm Lacey, and usually when we're doing this, it's the Comic Stash intro. But no, we're here with the live Friday night show.
Do the Comic Stash intro. Just go with what feels right. Go with what feels right.
So, Seddon is Friday, we're live, and we're going to have some fun this evening.
To be fair, mate, that thing you just said there, like, it always amazes me that we ever get live. And I'm saying that, I'm assuming we're live. There's a kind of bold hope to me that says we actually did make it live. But yeah, I mean, like, we've done this stuff before. We do it all the time. And most of the time when you and I do stuff, we record it, don't we? We don't do it live.
Yeah.
But there's that worrying part about clicking buttons. And there's especially worrying part because I monkeyed with the intro for date night because I want to make sure that you know that I'm romancing you tonight. That I thought, oh my God, am I really going to balls this up by messing with the intro video? But so far, so good. We haven't messed it up yet, as far as I know.
Good. So, how's your week been keeping you?
I tell you what, I know this is like one of those very, very English things to do and blandly English, but I have actually really enjoyed this week. And I think primarily it's because it's actually been okay weather-wise. Now, I know a lot of people, they see the sun and it's the abject opposite. They go, piss off, I don't want to leave the house. But I think I do. I really perk up when, and maybe it's less the sun. I think it's nice when I see sunlight on my way into work and sunlight on my way home, because I seem to spend so much of my, and possibly because of the stupid hours I do, but I seem to spend so much of my life moving around in darkness, and not because of nefarious means this time. But yeah, no, I have. I've actually been very joyous this week. I also probably want to slip in here that maybe part of that joy is because I know I'm on leave next week, so I have a week doing whatever the hell I want, whenever the hell I want. So yeah, bubbly and full of the joys of spring.
Does that mean that our super special movie night is going to happen soon? Then, when we do a stash about the Batman?
Yeah, well, the plan is Monday night. Is the plan for Batman. So we are going to, and I know not everyone loves this, but we're going to go to the zoo on Monday. And I know people have kind of feelings about the zoo, and there's certainly one who's a champion of all animals apart from cats. I do have some moral kind of quandaries around the zoo. However, we go to Colchester Zoo, and it's a place where I always feel like every penny they get through the door, they actually spend on trying to make it better for the animals. But of course, it is animals in captivity. But no, the plan is zoo in the afternoon, Batman in the evening. So yes, we shall be sitting down in a not too distant future, talking about the bat and hopefully talking about it positively. But I don't know yet because I haven't seen it. And how about you? How's your week been?
It has been hell week for most of it because of work being stupidly busy. But it was fun on Wednesday when I actually went to do football training, and I didn't have to put the floodlights on for the first time this year, which is quite novel.
Yeah, I've forgotten about that because I mean, obviously, I'm a lazy old man at this point, but I used to play football all the time, and yeah, I forgot how brilliant that is when you have those evenings where you go, we can just have a kickabout. Like for me, when it got to the dark times, like autumn, winter, etc., that's when we'd have to, I'm going to say, put our hands in our pockets to play at a leisure centre because they had floodlights. But I reckon I played at like Clacton Leisure Centre. Please don't come and find me. About at least 1,000 times. And I reckon I paid for a pitch once, maybe. But you just walk in there with a load of kids or like other people your age, and like you just walk through with them under the guys that you're playing with them, and then you go on the pitch next to them because their floodlights would reach you.
Exactly. And also, finally going to see Max from the Hormone. They announced a UK date, one solitary UK date. I was umming and ahhing because it is a little bit more than I was willing to pay. I had a little moral fight with myself and went, do you know what? They've not played the UK in 10 years. It's just after your birthday, and you've just had your bonus. Fucking do it. So I am.
The way you said that was almost like in my head, and again from doing a lot of these sort of things with me now, is what you say and what I hear are often two different things. I kind of heard that as they're doing a singular UK date just for you, which I thought was really nice of them. And I hope there is some truth in that. As they went, well, we weren't going to play the UK this year, but Chris hasn't seen us, so we're going to make sure we at least get in there for the boy
and do it around his birthday, just in time. So
yeah. Well, and rightfully so.
In June. So I will be venturing to London twice this year, because once for Ghost and then once for Maximum the Hormone.
And I don't think we covered this on the show. I think you was off that week, but you did have a little bit of perils with the Ghost tickets, didn't you? There was a requirement for Ticketmaster to redeem themselves in your eyes after they were pricks for a little while, weren't they?
Yes. So because I originally got tickets, and it was going to be me and Sarah going to Ghost, we got floor seats or floor tickets, so standing. And then she, not sort of overly comfortable with going to London, and still a bit weirded out with being out in public and stuff, so that's fine. And she's like, well, it's just after Will's birthday, take Will. Reading through the terms and conditions, like, oh shit, no under 16s on the floor. So I had to message Ticketmaster, went, right, can do a ticket swap. No, but if you rebook tickets for seating, we'll then refund you straight away, no questions, nice and simple. That was until I tried to get the refund.
Yeah.
Bitch at them enough on social media, they soon get stuff sorted.
Well, not to go like too controversial and real, but we've had all this stuff with like the P&O ferries and their despicable behaviour towards their staff, etc., and their money grabbing ways. Although I'm sure defenders of them will say it's been hard times for these multi-billion companies, but yeah, I think it just goes to show that actually most of these companies and corporations give two shits about their paying customers until their paying customers create enough of a stink and some bad PR. So that's our lifestyle advice. If you take anything away from tonight, if you feel a big company is treating you wrong, just flame the shit out of them on social media, and there's a good chance that they'll buck their ideas up.
Yeah, whinge loud enough on social media and shit gets done. Don't use their contact us forms because they will just send you back bullshit. But, go the other way. It works.
Yeah.
So, as is tradition, as we like a good tradition around here,
we do.
We will start with Ask Us Anything. And it's come from my boy Yelly. And the question for this week, I feel, is levels.
I'm with you. I think it's a great question, and I think it's quite a hard question. So I'm quite interested to see where we go with this.
So, if a brawl breaks out between every single actor that played Bond in their prime, not as of now, in their prime,
very different story if it's now, isn't it? You go, well, it's easy, but
who would win? See, this is a hard one because do you go for the hard Scottishness of a prime Connery?
Probably like that to prime Connery, yeah.
Or, you've got Lazenby. I reckon he could have been a bit of an animal in a scrap.
Well, is there anyone that we would go, no, they're off the table? And I know there's
I think
one.
Brosnan. I think Brosnan's a bit of a soft touch.
I think him and Dalton. I think for me they were instantly out. I don't feel like they'd be good in a real scrap. I think they're actor boys, aren't they? I don't think you're going to get any joy out of them. So I'd like to kind of go get them out the running. So I think what we're left with: Craig, Lazenby, Connery, and Moore, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I guess it's like kind of fatal four-way there. I'd pay to see that. If that was a pay-per-view main event, I'd pay to see that.
I'd have that over anything on fucking Mania this year. It would be about the only thing that would get me to watch Mania this year if those four boys got it. And again, I'd probably watch it if they weren't prime bums. I'd watch it if they were at the ages they actually are at. But I think I think Lazenby has got a bit of an animal about him. Moore's a dark horse here.
See, I wondered about Moore because Moore is my favourite. I mean, well renowned for that. I love Roger Moore Bond. don't know whether my love for Roger Moore Bond is colouring me to kind of go that way, because I'm not entirely sure. He was all about the crappy judo chops, wasn't he, when he was Prime Bond?
Yeah.
Like, and as much as I love him, I don't know. I almost want to put Bond. I almost want to put Moore to one side, because I feel like I am. My love for him is teasing me to go that way.
Is he one of these that would have the dark arts about him, though? You know, is he going to be one of these that will, come in, ball shot, rake an eye?
Oh yeah. Oh god.
Whereas,
he'd be the Ric Flair in that ring, wouldn't he? He'd be the dirtiest player in the game, I think. He'd be knocking out, as I say, crafty judo chop, but doing anything he could to try and weasel his way to win.
Whereas, obviously, with Craig and Connery, they're going to just straight up fight. That's straight up, proper scrapping. And Connery will quite happily headbutt you. That Scottishness is going to be there.
So, like with Craig, I don't like Daniel Craig Bonds. I really don't. I'm not a fan. And you know how I said I think I'm over favouring Moore because I love Moore?
Yeah.
I think Craig's in with a shout, but every fibre of my being that hates Daniel Craig Bond makes me want to kick him out. But I feel like, for me, it's between Connery and Craig. And again, I think Connery just come across like a hard bastard to me, and a suave hard bastard, but a hard bastard. Yeah. And Craig, whilst somewhat preened in a Hollywood fashion, I also get the feeling he'd probably be quite fucking handy in a fight. So I'm going between them two personally. I take your point on Lazenby. I think Lazenby, I wouldn't want to fight him if we'd been in the pub. I reckon he's a hard drinking bastard. He probably, a few pints in, that's when he'd come in really, really handy, I think. But yeah, that would be the big one for me. Is I'd probably have him on the sideline. Yeah, unless we were a few sheets to the wind and he'd started hitting the whiskies long time before we had, and he would just take us take us, not the we're Bond, would take the other Bond to pieces in that case.
So yeah, I think I'd go Connery, but it would be a fucking good scrap.
Connery does feel right, doesn't he? I think we're both most comfortable when we're inside Connery. That's a strange statement to make out loud, but he had that air about him, didn't he? He had that air of going, I would fight you in real life, whereas the others like varying degrees. And I will go, and I know you said Brosnan, but I would go that Dalton would get handed. I think he'd be out first. Dalton is a wean bag, whereas Brosnan might survive a bit longer because he might be doing his hair, so he might turn up to the ring late.
But yeah, it's one of those. Obviously, we all know the stories of Connery and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where he kicked off and had a scrap with the director, and that was in his 70s.
Yeah. Imagine what it was 30s. Like in prime Connery, and again we said prime Connery when he probably could tear it up a little bit more.
Exactly. So yeah, I think it'd be a close one, but I think Connery is our champion.
Well, and as ever, let us know in the comments which Bond would win in your universe, and if any of you say Dalton, you will get an instantaneous reply from me to say what the hell are you talking about. But someone might have
you're working out for Dalton. I want to see you working out like a maths question. I want to see how you got to this conclusion.
You'll get points if you put a good working out down, but ultimately your answer is wrong. Yeah.
So we will go straight into the week in Geek and Said with the first bit here with some sad news in the world of Netflix.
Yeah, and it was particularly sad for me. And I must admit, like, probably telling of it, how under the radar even the news was. I had to hunt this bit out, but I think both Stu and I had talked about this a few weeks ago on the show. But it was Archive 81, which we both watched on Netflix, and we both liked a lot. And it was this news this week that it will not be coming back to Netflix for season 2. Now, I guess that doesn't necessarily mean the show is entirely dead. Somewhere else could pick it up. But Netflix tends to be a place that picks stuff up that dies rather than it going somewhere else. But I think
Was it a Netflix original? Was it showed
I
elsewhere?
believe
And then
no, I believe it was, but I think even in those cases, I think it's a bit of a even with a Netflix original, they would ship it around. I think if they could make some money off of it, but it just seemed to be that it just didn't get enough viewers to justify a season 2. Now, I don't think it was the most expensive show ever, but I know from they don't tend to cancel a lot, but I've certainly read when cancellations have happened that they do kind of work. I guess something akin to a YouTube algorithm. They have a combination of cost to time to viewership figures, but
yeah,
yeah, just a shame for me because I really enjoyed it, and I think it was a really good show. But obviously, not enough people got it in their eye line, and unfortunately, did.
this is a weird one because I'm pretty sure that was sitting in the top 10 last week.
I think. Well, I mean, maybe, just maybe that's the thing. Maybe if all the Renaissance Men viewers jump on board, maybe you can reconvince Netflix executives to go. This is a show. This is a show that's worthwhile. But I wonder whether potentially even the news of it got it in people's eye lines again, or
Yeah,
something that I've always wondered, and I don't want to get too conspiracy, but whether because we go with the Netflix top 10 is the top 10 stuff that's watching. Who runs that? The company who are trying to get you to watch stuff. So maybe they just went chuck it back in the top 10, see if we can drive the figures up. But yeah,
yeah,
no Archive 81. However, I guess even if it doesn't come back on TV, as we've seen and said on things like The Stash with Buffy, and I know we talked about Buffy, me and Jimmy talked about last week, is there are other mediums now where maybe those stories can be told in their fullest, be it a book, be it a comic, be it even a video game or something like that. But so hopefully we'll get the end of that story in some format, but probably not on Netflix.
I was going to say, it's one I haven't watched it, but obviously listening to you lot talking about it, it does intrigue me. It's just one of those of, as with most things, time.
Well,
time being the enemy.
And the hard sell is that now you've got that proposition of, am I going to put time to something that I know I'm not going to see the end of because I'm going to see what was made, and sometimes stuff's good enough that it's worth it. But yeah, I think a much tougher sell now for people.
Yeah. In other sad news, well, sad for some people think it's the greatest news ever. Triple H has announced his retirement. He will never wrestle again. Obviously, recently had heart issues.
Yeah.
So much so that his heart pressure had got from what should be usual as about 60% capacity down to a 13% capacity before he went into surgery. So yeah, he has had a defibrillator, however you pronounce the word, inserted. So he basically has come out and said there's no way is he going to get in the ring and take bumps because he can't be seen getting shocked in the ring back to life if his heart stops.
And I will say, I hope that is true. Now, I think with him it will be, but we have seen, not necessarily this, but we have seen many wrestlers have things where you go, you really should never get in the ring again and do this, and they have done. And I just hope that he doesn't fall into that trap. Again, especially following on from, and I'm sure this probably had some impactors on him as well, off the back end of the Scott Hall news from last week, who they were obviously, they were friends, and you've done your time, mate. Like, whether people love him or hated him, he did his years in the business. He's paid his dues, and I think, go on and kind of live your life. I just hope that we see him in some sort of creative role, because I really loved his time of running NXT, and I know the company really isn't. Like, they destroyed everything he made, but I was probably more impressed with him as a creative force in the booking world than I ever really was, even as a ring performer. I think that really was when he come to his absolute fore.
Well, that's the thing is, like, everyone has their issues with the Reign of Terror, but the thing is, he redeemed himself, as you said, in that when he started NXT and made NXT the only must-see thing in the Fed. I think the fact of with him, because he has got a job and has security, he doesn't need to go back in the ring.
Yeah.
Whereas the issue with a lot of them is because the Evil Empire doesn't have retirement. doesn't have healthcare, doesn't have, these benefits that a usual company does. Once you're not in the ring or at an autograph signing, you aren't making money.
Yeah.
You've got to make money somewhere, and this is why the vets. Look, Funk was in a ring fucking 5 years ago. It's things like that.
And that was after he retired 78 times, wasn't it? Like, yeah.
It's the thing. It's like Trips doesn't need to because he's got a corporate job, so he will get all the corporate benefits that he should be getting, and will have a nice retirement fund, and it's fucking minted, and probably can get away with never having to work again.
And he didn't do bad with what he married into either, did he? For money, you know, like he's probably never going to have to work a day in his life again.
And when he came out, because I saw. Because the full interview is getting shown tonight in the States, but there was like a couple of snippets that were doing the rounds earlier. And he was like, before he went into surgery, he was worried that he would never see his kids again because he wasn't sure if he would survive the surgery. I mean, that sort of tells you a lot that I don't think Trips is going to be one of these that jumps back in the ring to risk it, because he's done his time, and to him, there is more important things in life than being in the fucking ring.
Well, and I mean, I said it earlier, and you just said it there. He's done his time. Like regardless of what you think of, like moments of reign of terror, he's done his years in the ring, hasn't he? And there's no need to see him again. And I guess the ultimate thing is take care of your health, and I hope that you get to a point where, if you do want to do something in wrestling, you can get to the point where you can maybe go into that creative side again. But again, even with that, only do it if you're healthy. Like, what work, no matter what it is, it ain't worth killing yourself over. Some of us have to, because the other choice is not working, not having any money, and dying of starvation. But if you can afford not to work, I'd say don't work unless you're in a healthy position to do it.
Yes. Next, we're going to do something a bit different around here. We're bringing some comic news.
Comic news. Oh, it's funny you should say that, because that's where I thought we were going next when you said sad news. And I thought, I don't remember the next story being sad. But then I remembered the Triple H news from earlier. But I thought the next news story was going to be the sad. I thought, this is really good news, isn't it? But over to you.
Legendary comic wizard and all-round mentor to every sane person. Everyone should get behind this man because he's a fucking genius. Alan Moore is launching an online tutelage course to make people better writers as part of the BBC
Maestro, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, Maestro series. He is doing a 22-part, 16-hour or 6-hour course to teach people how to be better writers and get the stories that they have in them out. More time for Alan Moore. He is a fucking legend in comic books and in storytelling. And if he's giving these out, by the time, because it's part of the BBC, it's free.
Yeah.
Anyone that's got a story in them that wants it out or needs some inspirado, get on this and learn from the wizard.
He is, as you say, he is an amazing writer, isn't he? An amazing creator. And I think for large parts of his career, he was in the comic book world, and for large parts of stayed. I know there's some sort of prose novels and there's some sort of just prose books now. And I think sometimes people get pigeonholed, but this guy is amazing. I think no matter what medium he'd have been in, he would have been amazing. And he's just so interesting to boot, isn't he? Like, I want to watch it because I want to hear a great writer talk about the process of writing and to try and like help people to get that out of them. But also I want to watch it because he's just, you say about the wizard. I mean, he is, isn't he? He's kind of he's a modern day crazy madcap wizard. And I just think it'll be fascinating to hear him talk. And hopefully we'll hear him talk about parts of the process that he went through when he's been doing some of his creating, which then has that historical significance for us with stuff that we've read of his. But yeah, like get on board with that, I would say. Even if you've never heard of him, it's not often, I think, in the modern day or in any day where really you get to hear creative people talk about their creative process. And if you do, it tends to be shitty little interviews like on crappy kind of entertainment shows where they're not really talking about their creative process. But yeah, I will be diving into this head first.
And for people that don't know what he wrote V for Vendetta, he wrote Watchmen, and the greatest comic book of all time, The Killing Joke.
And like when we say about like playing in other mediums, there's no some of these are considered some of the greatest comic books of all time. And for The Killing Joke, the Our Christmas special, where I think we wax lyrical about it being the greatest or one of the greatest comic books of all time. But you can see in there with things like V for Vendetta and Watchmen that we talk about him being a creator that may have primarily written comics but breaks outside of that, is that people want to go and make his stuff into films. But also quite interesting is that he's very anti his stuff being made into films because people come along and change things. And
he doesn't like that.
No, because he said, I wrote this is my story. But that's I guess that's something that we might hear in there. I think in there, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't cover bits of like how to own your own creation, how to make sure that you've got the right trademarks, the right copyrights, and doing work for hire and things like that. But I think no doubt you and I will probably either pick it up on here at a later date, or maybe we'll do a Comic Stash special when it comes out to talk about how we found it.
Yes. Next, in more comic book related news, there is going to be free comic book day, which is on the 7th of May. Get down to your local comic book stores, get freebies,
and while you're there, my birthday is only 5 days after that, so feel free to buy me a present. Just saying, don't have to, no pressure.
And mine's at the end of May, so yeah.
There you go. Perfect. You can get something for yourself for free, and you can spend your money on us. I think that's a really good deal. Yeah.
So we are getting a new Blade series with issue 1 being part of the Comic Book Day freebie pantheon. So very much looking forward to seeing what this new Blade Daywalker series will be. Can't remember who the writer is. I've got it on here. Where is it?
Because we do have, unless I'm being really bad with my memory, we do have Blade is on the schedule for what are we in?
Yeah, there's going to be a new
whatever. Yeah.
Yep, there's going to be a new film. What's his name? C.B. Kabelski is the the writer.
I've read some stuff of his stuff before. Always been relatively like at worst average, but quite often very good. So that's a good start point, isn't it? But
yeah, so he will be the one that is writing this new Blade run. So yeah, go down to your local comic book shop, get some freebies, put your hand in your pocket, buy something as well.
I know a boy not a million miles away who's quite keen on the old Bladester. I seem to remember us doing an episode where it was how like creating a super team, and every single one of them had swords. So Blade clearly made it in because he had swords. So
yes, the badass sword brigade.
Yeah, Blade obsessed, I might say.
Some of the other things that have been announced for Comic Book Day for the freebies. There will be issue 0 of the Avengers, X-Men, and Eternals crossover, Judgment Day.
Yeah, and this is going to be quite a big thing. For I think we talked for people who watch the movies. You've seen things like Civil War and like Avengers Endgame and things like this. In a comic book world, they tend to have let's say an Uber event at least once a year, and I believe they're building this one up to be the big event because, as you say, it's like at the very least Avengers versus X-Men versus the Eternals, whatever you think about the size of them. But yes, they are kind of. I think this is going to be their big summer blockbuster event, basically.
Yeah, we're also getting a new Spider-Man and Venom run with issue 1 being free. And Marvel Voices #1, which I've not actually heard any details of that one, so I don't know what that is.
I'd like to think that it's loads of comic book characters singing a song, although I don't think it is that, unfortunately. But
well, we can all hope. So remember, boys and girls, children of all ages, Comic Book Day, 7th of May.
Yeah.
Get down your local comic book shops.
Yeah.
Support local businesses.
Yep. And also, hopefully, like by getting some freebies, you'll find some stuff you like, and
Yes.
yeah, finding bits you like leads to finding more bits you like, and then as you will attest to, Chris, then you end up with an Amazon wish list the size of what mine used to be 7 years ago before I actually started buying some of it. But
pretty much. Thank God for the Marvel Unlimited, because all that Marvel stuff that was going on my Amazon wish list, don't need to now, because I can just use our Unlimited run.
Yes, which we are obviously, and again, like value for money is good, but as you said, stores also support the stores. Get down there, like the digital stuff allows you to read a lot of stuff in I guess quick time, but
and a lot
nothing,
of older stuff that you
hard
to get.
Yeah, but there's nothing quite like going to a physical comic book store, and I guess with everything. I mean, we've said this before, like like it's been a long time because of lockdown, but I'm a big board game player, and there's nothing quite like. And there's one up in Norwich. There's a board game shop up there, and if I could remember what it was called, I'd give them a plug. But it's great going in there and seeing them all on the shelves, and actually be able to look at the boxes and things. There is something nice about supporting local stores and local hobby stores, because they do need the support.
Yes. And last in the news, we have Nova coming.
It's kind of comic booky again, but this time we're tweaking back more into the world that I know we play with a lot on here, which is the Disney Plus TV shows and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, Nova is a 70s comic book character, but he's one of kind of the more spacefaring ones. So you get a lot into kind of the sci-fi element of it. And funnily enough, has often in the comic books been linked with the Guardians over the years, way before the Guardians were the movie juggernaut that they are. But we don't know necessarily what yet. It seems to be strongly hinted that there might be a Nova TV show coming. However, there's also, it was kind of unclear that it might fit into the Marvel cinema, like it might be a movie. Hard to judge much on it yet, because we've seen no stills or anything like that. The only thing that I did find quite interesting is it's going to be created, written, etc. by the team who are doing Moon Knight, which obviously Moon Knight is on its way soon. So I think, like that might be quite interesting to go, if people really vibe with and like Moon Knight in the way that it's written, then the team that do that are already signed up to do something else in that Marvel Cinematic Universe, or as I say, the Disney Plus TV side of it.
Yeah, so it'll be quite interesting to see what they do with Moon Knight for one thing, and then what they then do with Nova, because I said it's one of those I've not really read a lot of him. I've seen him in bits. He sort of turns up. So there's a couple of Spider-Man runs that he turns up in. There was a couple of obviously say the Guardian stuff that he turns up in that. So I've seen him in bits, but never read any of his own stuff. So
I would say, like from his intro, he was, I would say, almost probably positioned as being a bit of a rival for Spider-Man. Now, I don't mean in actual like they fought each other, but I think probably Marvel were looking to create that new young superhero that everyone will. And, he was about sort of 15, 16, 17 in that range. And it was all sci-fi because it was the 70s. But he is one that they've kind of aged up over the years, but not to be massively old, but, has gone through kind of dramatic personality changes. And now is a lot more of a kind of a leader, a gruff exterior kind of person. But yeah, had some great runs, had some poo runs. But, I think ultimately, we saw how well they did with the Guardians, and I'd say about with Thanos and stuff like that, about how they do the sci-fi element really well. So I'm always interested when they do something more in that space arena for the Marvel stuff.
Yeah, so it's one of those. I'm massively intrigued with it, but as I said, it'll be one of those we've seen what Moon Knight does and how Moon Knight goes down to temper my excitement or raise my excitement, depending on how that is.
I mean, I've not seen what they're doing yet, but like on my radar is the people who made like WandaVision, because I loved it so much. I'm like, right, when I see what their next show is, I'm in for it, and I think that's often how I will pick my movies and I'll pick my TV shows, of going, have the people who made this done stuff, and not even so much the actors. Now, don't get me wrong, the actors are a bit of a selling point. If you like an actor, you'll gravitate towards it, but an actor can only do so much, and I think more often than not, it's going to be the script and the direction that make the dramatic difference. So, yeah, let's see how Moon Knight goes. But I think more so, we've talked before about the fear of a bit of a war of attrition with the Marvel stuff, but they're even sneaking other stuff in. They've already got a very busy schedule, but they're already kind of planning the next bits. But fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
I'm hearing something upon yonder. It's something about... that's right. We're bringing the reading corner to you. Something that we do every week on the Stash.
And for a large part, because we both bloody love that bit of Venga Boys music. So we said, I want to get that in the main show this week. How do we do it? Let's do a reading corner so I can get some Venga Boys in.
Exactly.
Oh, not the Venga Boys, though. I don't want a copyright claim. I'm trying to avoid copyright claims.
So, Seddon, what have you been reading in your corner?
Well, it almost sounds like, and I hadn't planned this because you know as well as I do, we don't plan a lot. But talking about Moon Knight and the fact that Moon Knight is very, very close on the radar to release on Disney Plus. And talking about our Marvel Unlimited, I actually read the first issue of the latest series of Moon Knight. Now, I had actually planned to read the debut of Moon Knight, and I ran out of time because some silly boy stayed late at work tonight, so didn't get time to read that before the show. But yeah, this come out. What month are we in now? We are in March, so a tail end of last year. So clearly they went, we know a TV show is coming. So Marvel released a new Moon Knight comic, and it's written by Jed McKay, and I don't necessarily want to butcher the artist's name, but I think it's Alessandro, and I've written it down here, Capuccio. So I've read a bit of Moon Knight over the years, but it's not a character I've read tons of. There are a couple of runs that I was particularly interested in. I think it's where it deals into the kind of multiple personality elements of the story and done in a certain way. But I thought, okay, TV shows come in, let's grab the issue, let's have a look. Chris, this is bloody beautiful. Like, from an art perspective, this is a wonderful look. In the story, when you're looking at Moon Knight, you transition between him in the costume, which for anyone who's seen the trailer, it's very similar to the costume in that. But where they are with the story, when he's not in his costume, rather than being a human being, and it's Oscar Isaacs in the show, he actually wears a full white suit with a mask, so he is still kind of Moon Knighty, and it has a great visual feel to it. And storyline wise, this is an issue 1. It gives us some hints and teases as to what his origin was, but this isn't one set up to retell you his origin because they've told it hundreds of times before. But it kind of lays you straight into modern Marvel day, and Moon Knight is, and kind of the shtick with Moon Knight is that he died and an Egyptian god brought him back to life, and he is now the fist of, I'm going to say Noshu, although don't quote me on that because I've never heard it said out loud. I've only ever read it on the page. And he's quite a kind of a Batman-esque violent character. But in this part of the story where we find it in modern Marvel, he is protecting people who are out at night. So that's kind of his thing of going, if you're out at night in the city, he will protect you. And the initial part of it, he's protecting people from vampires because there are vampires in the city. And you actually see him have a couple of rough and tumbles with some lower tier Marvel villains like Vermin and 8-Ball.
Yeah.
But one of the things that was really interesting for me, and again, this is pulling off of some other storyline stuff that I haven't read in previous runs, but he's kind of running a cult now. So, and I say a cult, he started his own church, and actually in Marvel continuity, the god that he served has been in there, has fought the Avengers, has taken a kicking, and is now imprisoned by Asgardians, and I'm very interested in that, so I might be going back to that story. But this is him kind of still doing the work of his god, whilst not actually kind of following his god directly, because his god's been arrested. And this issue also introduces us to other characters that I believe are totally new to the world and the concept, but other people who may well serve when we say he's the fist of Noshu, you don't just have one fist, do you? You have two fists, and in this issue, you get introduced to who the other fist is, and it's quite nice. It's quite interesting. It's quite intriguing. I kind of like the god stuff, like be it the Norse gods, the Egyptian gods. I like it when they play in those because I think it's a really fertile ground for storytelling. And as I say, art-wise, spot on. I'm going to probably carry on reading this. It's being released monthly on Marvel Unlimited, but it is a few months behind. You never get like this month's issue, but I think there's 6 issues up there at the moment, and it has made me intrigued to want to go back and read the story where the Egyptian god tries to do bad things. So I don't know, tune in for a stash coming up in the near future, because I think we probably will do a stash on the Moon Knight TV show when it concludes, and I think I'll do a bit of Moon Knight reading around that. So
yeah, I feel that I need to get on that because that definitely sounds my sort of thing. As I said, I've never read Moon Knight. It was one of those when the character show stuff come up, and I was like, I have no idea about any of this character. I don't know things about it. I'm like, I'm intrigued, and then I saw the visuals of it, and I was like, okay, it looks like it could be a bit of violence. I'm sort of liking that idea. So yeah, definitely one for the reading list.
There are some really nice ones out there, Chris. Some earlier ones, where, as I say, it leans much more into, I guess, and I'm going to say the weirder side of it. Like it's maybe sort of subverting whether the push is, does he have multiple personalities, or is stuff happening real, or is he imagining it and things like that. So there are some series pre this that I think you would really get into, but I went for this one because it is the latest one, it is new, and I will say it was good. Like and it made me want to read more. So sign me up from that respect. How about you? What have you been doing in your dirty little reading corner?
I also have been going quite modern. Well, modern-ish.
Yes.
With the 2018 relaunch of 4. So I've read issue 1 of that. So the Thunder God Reborn series.
Is this
this is the one
Donny
Jason
Cates?
Aaron's. The first issue is Jason Aaron's.
Okay.
So Donny Cates might take over during it, but
I think he comes on after this. I think he does the next bit after that. But yeah.
So Lady 4 is no more. Odinson has got his 4ness back. All is not lost with Lady 4. She has been on Earth, protecting Earth, and recreated Earth after the destruction of Midgard, as it is known. In this, 4 is basically in a shitty mood and going around battering stuff because the Bifrost is broken, Asgard is destroyed. All of his toys are not powerful enough. We get him having a fight against a cult who have a mega version of Juggernaut.
Look at us going both culty for our episodes. We stayed on brand, haven't we? We picked out something that involves cults.
And Juggernaut is so jacked up that he breaks Mjolnir.
Meow meow, please. Meow meow. Will forever be known after those movies as Meow Meow. Bless Kat Dennings for putting in the best one-liner in a Marvel movie ever.
But yeah, so really, really fun. Definitely will be picking up some more of this run.
I might join you on that, Chris, because I've read
a little bit. Is I did want to actually read the Lady 4 run, but because this popped up and when I was reading it, it was at work and it was like, oh, what's on the drop down list for free? Oh, 4 number 1. Let's have a read. I'm like, fuck, I need to go back and read the Lady 4 runs, especially I want to read the CM Punk issue.
I've read some of this, Chris. I read some of the Jason Aaron one when it's going, and actually, like, again, to my eternal shame, I stopped before it kind of got to the end, and I keep meaning to go back, and I haven't. But of course, like, I guess like anything, like a TV show, sometimes if you step away for too long, I was talking to someone this week about on Netflix, they've just put out Top Boy season 2, And I really like
Yeah.
Top Boy. Well, I say season 2 of the Netflix part of it. I really like season 1, but I feel like I've left it too far between seasons of watching it. Like, I feel like I need to go back and watch that again. And then I tell myself I need to watch the Channel 4 season. Then all of a sudden I go, oh God, that's like 4 seasons I need to watch rather than 1. And I think the Jason Aaron Thor run kind of is a little bit like that for me. But I would like to go back and yeah, the Lady Thor stuff was really good.
Yeah, so I will definitely be carrying on with that when I have more time to sit and read all of the things that I want to read.
What you need to do is you need
Damn
to do
work.
like what I'm doing and take leave next week, so you can read comic books and play computer games all week, like grown-ups do on a week off.
So in like 2 weeks' time, when I've got Will, and other than going to see Ghost,
boom,
that is
done.
the plan.
Done.
Comic books,
now,
video games, and nothing else.
Momentarily, we'll move on to another section, but I want to ask your permission for something. And don't be shocked. It sounds terrible because it's couples night and date night. I just want to make sure. We don't normally do this on the stash, but when we leave the reading corner, can I play the video again just so I can hear the Venga voice again?
Yes.
But I don't want to rush on. Was there anything other than the Thor issue that you read that you wanted to
No, it was just the full one. That since our last recording of the stash, if you want to know what else we're reading, watch the stash. Get much more details.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that is the only thing that I've read since our recording on Tuesday.
In future episodes of the stash, I even get quite obsessive, don't I? I've started a run that I hadn't read for many years and hadn't even read all of it, that we got off of a spinny wheel, and the idea was to read a lot of it, but I've got so engrossed with it issue by issue. I'm going for it at the pace of an abject breakdowns. Yep. I'm getting quite obsessive panel by panel on it, aren't I? But right, I love your face, but I love the Venga Boys more. There you go, and there's your face again.
So we are going on our date night. We're going to the cinema.
Wait, no. I'm clarifying that right now. This we're not going to the cinema, Chris. We're going to a CD room where this is playing on a DVD, probably a VHS. I don't want anyone to think that, and that's not a reflection on us and our love for each other. That is a reflection of the movie that we watched together. It would not have been on at a cinema.
I don't know. It could be in a cinema, like one of those weird avant-garde ones that showed The Room every couple of months.
See, I think the only way you could convince me is if you said it's in a cinema down a back street in Amsterdam that no one has gone to for the last 30 years, and all their porno movies have run out, and this is the only one they had left to show.
So
how
we
about
are watching
start of the review.
We are watching the cinematic masterpiece.
Again, I dispute cinema, but yep, go for it.
The Wrong Side of Town, featuring Big Dave Bautista, Ja Rule, and the whole fucking show, RVD, Rob Van Dam. This beauty,
and I think for context, Chris, just before we go on, because I think when you do that cast, I think people are going to go, so this is a Bautista movie. Oh, and they've got that rapper and another wrestler in it. Let's just be clear. Rob Van Dam is the main actor in this. This is not a Bautista vehicle. This is a Rob Van Dam vehicle.
Not if you look at the poster, it isn't. It's all about Big Dave on the poster.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? The person actually trying to sell this movie to you has subsequently learned that they've made a very bad mistake, and they have put Big Dave front and center on the poster.
So, before watching this, had you heard of this? Had any knowledge of this?
No, I mean, literally, you telling me that it existed was the first I knew of it. Now, I presume that, like, outside of the stuff that I've seen Bautista in, with the best will in the world, I assume he'd have been given some scripts where, it's just take it because he wanted to get into acting. I must admit, I didn't know at all that Rob Van Dam had ever been in a movie. So that was the big surprise for me.
Yeah, so RVD has done a few. This is his big magnus opus.
You're going to make me watch the others, aren't you? Oh, God.
Is this couples watch, couples therapy, or couples torture?
All three, apparently. Depending on which chair you were sat in, depending on how you took this couples watch.
So if you do want to watch it, you can. It is available for free. Fuck all on the YouTubes.
And
be careful. Some of them are
just for
in
context, and going back to something we've said, and I don't want to give away my ultimate feelings on this movie, like I haven't already, but it's available for free on YouTube. That should tell you a lot about the quality of this movie.
So, do you want to go through it chronologically, or should we just hit? How do you want to hit this?
I think
because I do have a play-by-play notes.
Well, I think like the plot, and not to be rude to it, but I think we can sum up the plot. Like I'll do a very quick summary of the plot, and then we can kind of go through it like that, just for people to give them context. So, I mean, ultimately, this is a movie of Rob Van Dam. His wife is attacked, and in a like a little kind of, it's not even a proper fight, is it? It's a scuffle, isn't it? Yeah. In a scuffle, the person who had attacked his wife ends up dead, probably by accident. But he is the brother, and I'm going with brother, of a not so nice person. And then for the rest of the movie, the not so nice brother is trying to get Rob Van Dam's character to him by using gangsters of many different origins, because he wants to kill Rob Van Dam in revenge. That's kind of the plot, isn't it? There's not, but yeah, I'm more than happy to hear you break this down further.
So we open with a very, very cheap looking scene of a guy being interrogated with his hands handcuffed through a breeze block. And at this point, I knew we were in for some gold when I saw the level of this opening.
It felt like for UK viewers, it felt like what would happen if the daytime TV show Doctors tried to do a gangster episode on the budget that they have. That's what that opening scene felt like for me.
Yes. We then get a really cool Bond-style intro credits video with a fucking awful song over it.
I'm glad you said that, because when you were saying about the cool Bond intro, I thought, oh, please, Chris, don't say it was a good song, because I was going to write notes and mine stopped at, oh my God, even the opening's fucking awful.
Yeah, the song is fucking dross.
It's bad, yeah.
Yeah, it was just, I was quite enjoying the fact that they, tried the novelty of trying to copy a Bond style.
Well, I also think you're right, though.
Singy thing.
I think they were really. I think whoever the singer was, and I didn't bother looking it up because I'm never listening to another song by him. I do feel like they were trying to do a Bond-esque theme tune as well, wasn't it? Like it kind of. Yeah. I'm sure it includes the title of the film a few times and probably had some plot points, but I tapped out at that point in the listening to her. In fact, while you're going on, I'm going to look up and see who sung the theme tune. So you crack on with the explanatory notes, and I'm going to name and shame this woman.
So we see RVD with his family. His daughter is in a swimming pool, pretending to play dead because she's lying face down in it. So we see RVD, who at the point had a chainsaw, and chainsaw gets stuck, so he chops the wood to break it, do a hero dive to save his daughter, who the wife wants to ground her for a month. RVD, being the good guy parent, goes, no, 2 weeks. The daughter tries to complain, but goes, quit while you're ahead. We then get introduced to the new neighbor who has just moved in next door. He wants to borrow a hammer.
Yes.
And then invites them out for a meal in the town that night.
And a meal in a nightclub?
Yeah.
I mean, that might be an American thing. I've never been to a nightclub for dinner. And I don't ever plan on going to a nightclub for dinner, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I don't think I trust the food.
No.
We see RVD in said nightclub and looks well out of fucking place with his affliction level t-shirt and jeans. He looks like he should really be fronting a new metal band.
Or that he'd just come off of a TNA taping was the other thing that crossed my mind.
Which is probably more likely.
Yeah.
In 2010.
Yep.
We see the dodgy guy from the start of the film, who is the owner of the club. We then see his young, drugged up brother getting all fucked up on the booger sugar. Then bumps into RVD's wife and tries to rape her.
Well, can I just cut in very, very quickly? I just want to touch on like the brother and the neighbour. I'm not entirely sure I've ever seen two worse acting jobs than the brother and the neighbour. They're bad, aren't they? They really are bad. It feels like they have never acted before. It feels like someone just grabbed them from the street and said, "Say these words."
They're not good. Captain Booger Sugar tries to attack RVD. RVD uses the minutest little push him away till he falls over and stabs himself in the chest with his knife that he pulled on RVD. They go to the police station as a very, very simple interrogation, and RVD gets let out. And then we get told that the gangs are after him, and there's a hit out for 100K to bring RVD in alive. So we see the most tokenistic driving around to each set of gang members, telling them to go and get him.
Yeah.
Notice that no one else is about on any of these scenes. There's no background. There's no extras. Literally, there's a car with a couple of Latinos in. Guy on a bike comes up to him. 10G. It tells them it's 100Gs to go get him. They drive off. He drives off.
When they said wrong side of town, it was so the wrong side of town. No one seems to live there at all.
Yeah.
It's like it's the side of town that 28 Days Later was set in. That's how barren it is.
Yeah. So they are driving home after being released from the police station, and we get a couple of cars pulling up and blocking the road, and the bikers come in front of them, try to attack the car, but Matey Boy reverses back, drives off, and they go into a car park where RVD has a plan that it's because they know he's after them, that he'll go on foot while his wife, the neighbour, and his wife could drive off. Yeah. And RVD goes on a foot race against people in cars and on motorbikes. We get a scrap by some bins, and RVD gets shot.
That's the one, but I did like the fact that they had a bin fight and then he parkoured up a wall until someone just shot him. It's brilliant.
And
in most movies, that's the end. Most movies, that's the end, isn't it? Like when someone's climbing a wall and they get shot, that would be movie over. But no, not this movie.
And at this point, RVD is lying there. They think he's dead, so they leave him. Don't check. Don't make sure. Wonderful gangsters, these guys. Just and fuck off.
I know they actually pick up on that, don't they? When they go to see the bad guy, he kind of goes, "What, you didn't check, you idiot," sort of thing. Yeah. But they just really, it was a particularly bad version of that, wasn't it? They just thought, oh, and they clearly shot him in the leg. And admittedly, he fell off a building into a bin, but it didn't even like it be much effort to check. There's a ladder right next to it that he was climbing at. You could have just had a look. But world's laziest villains, I felt.
We then see RVD wandering down to the meet up with his wife.
Oh, now when you say wandering, hobbling, because he has been shot in the leg. I will say that RVD, with his years and years of wrestling training, sells his gunshot injury.
Yes.
Not very well, but he sells it, that's for sure.
So they drive back to the police station. At this point, RVD pulls out his super badge that tells him that he's special forces.
Yeah.
Instead of the police driving him home, they just book a taxi for him.
Yeah.
Very.
Didn't they say something like? Didn't they say something like, "Oh yeah, sorry, it's not our policy to drive you home,
but you can charge the taxi to the state."
Yeah.
So the taxi driver gets a ping on his phone, tells them to take him to a garage. He makes out that he needs to pee, so he has to go and stop. RVD questioning why he didn't go for a wee beforehand, and then mocking him and going, "You're going to get a sandwich while you're at it."
Very much like a mum, wasn't he? Like it was like, "Well, you should have gone before you left this evening."
Yeah. And at this point, we get the crackhead punk gang that come out to fight, and we see Big Vis, Big Daddy V, King Mabel.
I was actually relatively appalled that he didn't get a look on the poster. And I know he has a small part to play in it, but I'm thinking if you're going to feature 2 wrestlers on the cover of this, feature the 3rd wrestler, please.
Yep. At this point, RVD is scrapping with all of them, and his way to take down Big Vis is to grab the petrol pump and start just pouring it at people, and then get his lighter out.
Wasn't a bad idea, I didn't think. I've locked that one away for if I'm ever being attacked by multiple gang members in a petrol station. I'm going to use that trick.
Yep. So RVD drives halfway out of away from the petrol station and gets out and tells his neighbor to take his wife and her wife home because he needs to go and call in a favor. We go to the obligatory titty bar, as all these films have to have the obligatory boob shots.
Yep.
Where we see...
Didn't look a very nice one, did it? Like when you're looking at it, it wasn't one where you go... I mean, I guess you go to a strip joint for the reason of seeing naked women, but it wasn't one where you thought, do you know what? Looks like a nice place as well, though. Looks like I'd have a drink in here as well. You go, God, looks like a ropey old dive to me.
Yeah. And there we see Big Dave...
Big Dave!
Sat with Stormy Daniels with her boobs out.
Yeah.
And
do you reckon that means Big Dave will inevitably be president of the United States of America because of this? Because I believe that's how like being with Stormy Daniels works.
Yeah. The thing is, did he bang her?
Well, we don't know. That wasn't seen on screen, but I guess we can. I guess we'll find out if he becomes president. We know he did. If he doesn't become president, we know he didn't.
Exactly. RVD tells Dave that he needs his help. Dave says no.
Yeah, it was pretty blatant, wasn't it? It was just like no.
Yeah.
No thanks.
He literally comes out and goes, "You've got kids, you've got a wife, and you've never introduced them to me. Fuck you."
Yeah, it was. I mean, we'll get more into Dave and Dave's acting chops, but quite an emotional moment for Big Dave, wasn't it? He was just like, "No, I'm not helping you. Like, where you've never been here for me. You know, like I've lived here in this strip club, and you've never brought your wife and kids here. Of course, he hasn't. It's a strip club, but yes, point taken.
A seedy, dodgy one at that.
Yeah. They've not he's not integrated poor Big Dave into his new suburban lovely life, and I'm not entirely sure, and I know this is jumping ahead a bit, but I've got a question for you here. I'm not entirely sure whether does it ever really cover why he didn't ever invite Dave round for a nice, pleasant dinner? Because I did feel quite bad for Dave at this point, and I don't think I stopped feeling bad for him because of this through the whole way through the movie. Because I thought, you've been a bit of a prick, haven't you? Why didn't you invite Dave round for dinner?
They don't say it, but I think it's implied at the end that Dave might come around for dinner later.
Oh, too late, Chris. This is date night. This is date night. I'm establishing this now. We're having a lovely date. If you pull out shit with me, don't come back 6 months later and say, now you can have dinner around my house. No, you treat me like a queen from day one, or this is over. And that's what I believe Dave was trying to establish there. I hope he doesn't go for dinner around there. Spoilers, Dave lives. Sorry, we've spoiled that a bit, haven't we? And spoilers, RVD lives. My bad.
We then get Ja Rule, who has been sent by Dave, because he's Ja Rule's one of Dave's boys.
Dave's mates, yeah.
to go take down RVD. RVD is doing all right at the start, but then the numbers get too much. Dave turns up, goes, well, I want to cash in on the money. RVD drops the little, I took a bullet for you. Thought we were buddies. And then Dave has a change of heart and straight out murders Ja Rule in a beautiful scene where he just grabs a gun, shoots him square in the head. Done.
Yeah, beautiful is a word, isn't it?
Then takes out a like a little mini machine gun and starts shooting the rest of his mates.
Yeah.
Dave being Dave.
Dave turns quick, doesn't he? Like, really is. Like, he heel turned and face turned exceptionally quick. Big show levels of heel turn, face turn there.
Yeah. We then see RVD taking down a biker so he can steal his bike.
He gets shot again, doesn't he, as well, around this time. This time...
the biker starts shooting at him.
Yeah, and it looked like, when they filmed the scene, it looked like he got shot in a bad place, but then it just kind of showed it was on his shoulder, but it really looked like it hit him in the back, so I thought, bloody hell, how are they going to get around this plot point? He's just been shot in the back, but no, they show a little scar, don't they?
Yeah. So RVD goes home before going to see his wife, before going to check on his daughter, takes the bullet out and cleans it all up, cleans out the wound.
Yeah.
Goes
Selfish. Didn't invite Dave for dinner. Takes care of his own wound first. I'm just saying, selfish, man.
Goes to give wife a hug. Finds out she's all tied up. Unties it. Gets told that Dick Boy's gone and taken his daughter.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't know what that says about the perception of their marriage. That he could have easily kidnapped his wife as well, but thought, oh, he's not going to give a shit about his wife, is he? He would only kidnap the daughter. But I didn't really understand why he didn't take her as well. I guess they needed someone to tell him. However, little note maybe, something on the fridge that says we have kidnapped both your wife and daughter, or knocked next door to the neighbours and said, I've kidnapped them. Let RVD know when he gets home.
Yeah. So RVD goes into his garage and goes full fucking Navy SEAL, flats up with all his combat gear. We then go to where Seth, the bad guy, is with the daughter. The daughter plays I'm on the floor, I need a pee. So gets picked up and taken to a side, untied, and punts one of the stooges in the balls. Doesn't get her much further, so she gets tied up to a pole.
There was a part here where, I mean, she doesn't have a huge part in the movie, does she? You have that kind of bit early and that bit later, and I think they do try and establish her as like her dad has taught her a few tricks in life and things like that. But I want to focus on her part here because you're right. She does the trick the bad guy. She does it. Oh, what's that behind you? And he goes, I'm not doing that. And then she says, oh, what's that behind you again? And he does look, she punts him in the nuts. Yeah. But where I think her fatal flaw is, rather than trying to escape, she actually kind of almost takes the time to go to him before going off. And of course, one of the bad lads just goes, well, I'll take you back. But,
it was the fact that literally he was right there and he was shouting, yet no one noticed.
No one moved, did they? Yeah, the other bad guys were 3 steps away. And even though, he was shouting the shout of a man who's just been kicked in the nads, they just ignored him. It was brilliant.
Yeah. We then get the bent cop, who was the guy that did the interrogation. And
I felt like we were supposed to care about him more during this movie because I think they kept kind of cutting back to him, and I think we were supposed to be giving a shit about his quandary and his conflict as a policeman who's been on the tape. But I've got to be honest, I could have given 2 bollocks about him. I'd rather him not been in it. Like, I think I didn't need that extra plot line. Bearing in mind when I explained the plot, I covered it in about 32 seconds, and this is me covering it in 32 seconds.
So the Ben cop
I spent 45 minutes talking about 1 page of a Captain America comic last week. I did this plot in 32 seconds.
So the Ben cop turns up, and we find out that Ethan wasn't Seth's brother; he was his son.
Yeah,
because he'd banged some girl when he was 16.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a surprise to me, but I also then didn't care. It wasn't like, oh wow, that twist has really changed this movie.
That makes everything better.
Yeah, it was more like, well, that's a bit weird, isn't it? Telling everyone he's your brother and he's your son. Like, no matter how ashamed you might have been to be having I don't really know why. You're a fucking gangster, mate. You do what you want.
Yeah.
Like, you sent every gang member from every gang in this city after RVD tonight. Like, why do you really care if anyone knew it was your son or not? But yeah, it was his son.
And then he shoots the bent cop. RVD turns up, murders a couple of people, murders a couple of more people, and gets to his daughter. Seth calls off the hit. Swerve, didn't really. RVD and his daughter run away, and he tells her to hide in a bin because he knows that they're going to come after him.
Yep. And he knows they don't check bins. We found that out earlier. Like,
yep.
Yeah.
So they go on a bike chase, and all of the other gangs start turning up. Though respectfully, fight RVD one at a time.
Yes.
You'll stand around and let them all, one at a time. No double teaming. No, dirty tactics.
Good old fashioned movie fighting, wasn't it? Where you just go, yep. Form an orderly queue.
At that point, we do get a bit where it then becomes two, or I think it's 2 or 3 of them get involved, which means that the numbers have taken him down. So Dave has to come in to make a save. Dave, full in SEAL gear as well, because he's got to look badass as he takes them down. Dave goes with a throwdown with Steph's main henchman, which turns into a knife fight to some really, really shit bro metal, like the worst, sort of like a Damme and like 5-finger death punch levels, but like India and shitter. We then see RVD killing Seth's boy because he attacks. Dave makes the save. They kill Seth. And then RVD introduces his daughter to Dave. Have a bit of small talk. RVD says, well, we're even now. And Dave goes, no, I've saved you 3 times tonight. We're not even. You owe me twice. Wanders off into the sun. End scene.
Waiting for the inevitable Wrong Side of Town 2. Coming to a non-cinema near you, coming to YouTube near you in the near future. Did you like it? There you go. That's a good place to start.
Yes, I like this because I like shit action films. There are a time and a place for shit action films and shit horror films.
I guess it shares some DNA, doesn't it? With like the kind of Jean-Claude Van Damme post him actually having a bit of a career explosion when it was the stuff Winner churning stuff out every year, the kind of Chuck Norris-y level ones. Film, there certainly is some elements of that to it, where it's a very simple action story told with not a great deal of budget. I can kind of see that in it.
Yeah, it's one of those of, was I ever expecting something amazing? Fucking no.
You told me exactly what that's the only time I watched it, you prick.
Was I expecting something amazing? No. Was this exactly what I was expecting? A low budget, so bad it's good action film.
I know I joked about it earlier, but really, if you're going into this expecting a lot, and if you've managed to get past the poster and you're still expecting a lot, if you've managed to get past the cast and you're still expecting a lot, then if you got to the point of pressing play on YouTube and you're still expecting a lot, then really you need to change how your expectation levels work.
So this is the thing with this. I mean, if you like shit action films and that level of used to be on Bravo or that'd be on Channel 5 or those sort of level of films, you'll enjoy this. This is less than an hour and a half.
Yeah, it is.
is switch your brain off, watch it. It's fun. It'll pass you by. What do you reckon?
Oh, it was absolute toss. And again, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do take your point of like, you know, it is of an ilk, and clearly they knew they weren't making something brilliant. Unfortunately for me, it wasn't so bad. It was good. It was just bad. I think I don't know what actually makes things so bad it's good. There's a special X factor to those things for me, and I couldn't. And I think, to be honest, if you knew what X factor was, you'd just churn shit like that out all the time and you'd make a fortune, wouldn't you? But this didn't have that for me. Now, I will say, like, the fact that it had wrestlers in it, like that drew us in a little bit. And the fact that obviously you kind of picked it out for this. But I think if I was flicking through Channel 5 or like Bravos and stuff like that at 2:00 in the morning, and I saw a film start and it said starring RVD and Dave Bautista, I would stop and watch it because, you know, it's in my kind of wheelhouse. But yeah, you're right. I will be expecting very little. The acting's awful. And again, I wasn't expecting anything from Rob Van Dam. I wasn't necessarily expecting anything from Ja Rule. And I know like this clearly had a limited budget, but when I say it's awful, and I will pick up on the one place where I don't think it's awful in a little while, because I have got some positives as well. But most of these sort of things normally get in at least a decent villain. And when I say decent, like they'll normally pay one actor who can act and actually have them do that. But no, they were all really bad. The copper was really bad. His wife was terrible. As I said, the neighbour and the brother-son are two of the worst acting performances I've ever seen in. And there was just like loads of really odd stuff in it. So, and then we said about the inclusion of the strip club. You know, we've seen that in other things. You know, that does often happen. But it was kind of randomly thrown in there. But I think the most random and weirdest scene I found was, and don't get me wrong, this is on top of that concept of meeting your neighbours and saying, let's go out for dinner at a nightclub. But they're driving into the city and the neighbour's wife is really clearly trying to get frisky with him in the front. Which, which, you know, like, I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but if you were, and like this is our first date night, but when we've been together for a long time, if we just met our neighbours and we were taking them out for dinner, I'd be really shocked if we were trying to get fresh for each other in the front seat of the car. But then you get that followed up by the oddity of Rob Van Dam kind of going, well, I can drive if you want to jump in the back. So was he going to watch him bone in the back? So yeah, like you got like really weird stuff like that. And again, I just do not know what it was supposed to be. I do not know. One of the fascinating things for me is, as cheap as this was to make, and I imagine it was cheap to make, this probably costs still a lot of money, like more money than we've got in our bank accounts to make. Someone gave someone money to make this.
Yes.
I don't understand. I don't understand the universe I live in where these sort of things happen. But, and here's my positive, I liked Batista in it. And I know, like, partially that's a bit unfair because we've seen Batista act in other stuff. But even in this poo fest, I can see why Batista got more and more acting jobs because of all the bad acting in this. I think he comes, and again, he's not given a lot to work with, but I think he actually does come across as quite interesting. And I think the way he delivers his lines, I was going to say are really good. Let's temper that back to above average. Let's not get carried away because obviously I'm comparing it to some of the other shit I saw in this movie. But no, I thought he came across really well. I was actually, good boy, Dave. Like, and I can see why Hollywood took more chances on you, and I can see why you've got an acting career now.
Yeah, it reminded me very much of the period when Dave came back after the first Guardians film, and he was Hollywood Dave.
Bautista with his horrible.
Not Bautista. That point when he was feuding with Cena, and then he when he left, he had a temper tantrum and walked off.
Yes,
that level of promo is what he's visioning here.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to say it. I think RVD was actually quite good for a guy.
He was
that
terrible.
For a guy that never did a fucking promo,
but
and can't do a promo.
But the thing is,
he's a stoner.
I grant you, Chris, you're right. He never did a promo, and because he couldn't do a promo, so don't give him a job in a movie where he's acting. That's like saying to me, like, well done for doing the slowest 100 meters run this year because you've never run the 100 meters before. No, I'm bloody rubbish at it. Criticize me for it. I shouldn't have done it. But yeah, I thought he was bad. But again, like the nice thing for him is he wasn't the worst bit in it. I think if the makers of Wrong Side of Town had their time again, and again, this is another. Well, I'd said one positive. Let's give it another kick in. If they had their time again, you're putting Dave in as the star of this, and having RVD playing the small role where there's less lines, aren't there? They even flubbed that part of it where they got the wrong person to be the star of it.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think the other way around on this, would have made a little bit more sense. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Will I watch it again? No. But do I regret my hour and a half? No.
Do you know that my biggest regret when I was watching it is that this didn't come up so that the other two had to watch it as well? Because I felt like I wasn't with you when we were watching it. Like let's break down the walls. We didn't actually get to watch it together, but I got the feeling when I was watching it that you'd enjoyed watching it, and I was just like, I want someone else to suffer. I want someone else to suffer as I have. But them's the breaks. Like I'm sure we can mug Jimmy and Stu into watching it at some point and pretend that it's a new group watch that they haven't seen or something like that. But no, I do take your point. I think there is. I think for some people it will have a charm, and it is really bad. But it could, for a lot of people, be like you said, so bad it is good. Unfortunately for me, it just was bad. It didn't just have that sprinkle of magic that those movies need to take them into that category of going, my God, I know I need a shower after this. I feel dirty, but I do want to watch it again level.
Yeah, so if you want to watch Wrong Side of Town, you can quite easily on the YouTubes.
And also, I have found the singer of the theme tune, and it is, I'm going to say she, although I think it's probably a band called Taxi Doll, and they're an American pop, electronica, and dance musical group from Los Angeles, California.
Good for them. Don't do another song.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, they might be better. Who knows?
They might be bloody brilliant. This might have been the thing that made them. They just went, God, we never want to have to do this again. So let's make sure that we step up our music game.
Yes. So we will round out this evening with some digital diaries.
Oh,
and
actually, I think I've managed to hit the mark on all of these tonight. I'm quite amazed. Before we digital diary, I'm not, no pressure on this one, but do you have like 30 to 60 seconds of solo vamping in you so that I can and I'm going to be honest, I am going to go for a wee, but more so, I want to refresh my drink because my throat's giving out a little bit, and I want something moist all of a sudden. Oh God, I can't believe moist out loud.
Yes. Go on,
right.
I will plug away of all the other things upon.
I will be back momentarily. I promise.
Go on, get out of it. So you're here with me and just me. So other things that you can watch on the channel whilst you're here, liking and subscribing and clicking the bell, because the bell tells you when things come up. You can see the aforementioned comic book stash, where me and Seddon go over comic books and comic book films, comic book TV. Recently, we have looked back at the golden age of comics, and we looked at the first issue of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and also the first issues of the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and Iron Man, and going back old school, which was really quite enjoyable and good to do. You can also see on this channel Jimmy the Saint telling us all about the joys and wonders of Picard, going through the Rentrek show, going up Sundays. I should say, comic book show goes up on a Monday. Don't have to watch them on that day, but that's when they're there. We also have Seddon doing his wonderful retelling of trying to save ECW from the doldrums in his TEW save. He's just put up his second pay-per-view, the Adrenaline Show. Very interesting to see how he's booking a wrestling federation virtually. And also Renaissance Reacts, where we watch music videos. Usually it is just me and Seddon, but all the other boys are going to make appearances at some point. Big hits recently with the Rammstein Zweit. Also Ghosts, Quayhammer. Run the Jewels was the one that went up this week, which was a Seddon pick for me to see for the first time. Which was very nice. I liked a bit of Run the Jewels. But those are up on a Thursday. And with those, if you're liking them, chuck some stuff into the comments or on the Facebook page or post that we've done for it. Because we want your suggestions. Tell us what you would like us to react to musically. As you can probably tell by the pops of Slayer and such above me, I'm a metalhead. The boy over there, now he's confused me because he's gone the other side.
I'll correct that quickly. Whoop! There you go. All is right in the universe again.
Seddon likes the hippity hops. That's our base levels. So yeah, we are very, very more comfortable to go everywhere with our musical delights.
Doesn't quite know this part of it yet, but I really do like the hippity hops, and I also really, really like the classical music and the indie music as well. But we haven't got to that yet because I didn't want to confess to him. But it's date night, and I feel like on date night I need to tell you some new, fresh, interesting things in me. However, I've just realised that on date night I've gone back to my usual of trying to get sponsorship from Coca-Cola, zero, lovely, and also trying to get sponsorship from Grey Hoodies, whoever. Hoodies.
So yeah, if we're going confessions, I too like indie music from the 90s. Not so much the modern stuff, but then it's because I don't really listen to it, so I don't know what it sounds like these days.
Well, that's the thing I kind of hope for, is that people give us stuff that maybe we haven't listened to from the modern era.
From the modern times. Though if we're going confessionals on musics, the first album that I ever owned, well, technically the first two because I got them at the same time, was The Simpsons Sing the Blues and Betty Boo Boomania.
I also in my lifetime have owned The Simpsons Sing the Blues, and it's been a long time since I've listened to it, but I'll stand by that, as I think that probably is really good, because I think it does kind of get the Simpsons characters across, and I think there is some musical merit to it. And I also and Betty Boo, that I probably would have a harder time justifying now, but again, I haven't listened to it since then. My equivalent is my first album of an artist that I own. So ignoring things like Now and Hits and things like that, was the Mel and Kim album. So and then closely followed by Five Star. So let's be honest, not the greatest start to our musical lives, but I think yours is certainly better than mine, because yours wasn't absolutely shitballs.
Yeah, Mel and Kim. Yeah.
Although I will say respectable, still a banging tune. So and God rest her soul, whichever one it was of Mel or Kim that died. I can't remember which one. Sorry.
So, would you like to cleanse yourself from the awfulness that was Wrong Side of Town with something that I'm going to imagine was much more delightful for you?
And possibly, but who knows? This might be the televisual equivalent of The Wrong Side of Town. But no, I finally got around to starting, and I've watched season 1 of Ozark on Netflix. And I do remember when it was coming out, and we're now currently got season 4 on there. However, season 1 was 2017, and of course, because we've had like pandemic time and things like that. So it is a little bit older than the 4 years or the 4 seasons that we've had. And I do remember seeing the trailers for it when it first came out. Stars Jason Bateman, who is the actor that I guess I was most knowledgeable of and most comfortable with, because I loved his turn in Arrested Development, but it's also got Laura Linney. And I went, okay, this has got an interesting cast, and it had quite an interesting dark look to the trailer. So everything looked very gloomy, and I thought, okay, so it's not a comedy. And then watching the trailer, I went, oh, do you know what? This seems to have some light tinges, or possibly some light tinges of something kind of Breaking Bad-esque. And I said to myself, remember to watch this. Then season 2 come out, then season 3 come out, then season 4 come out, and finally I went, come on, get off your ass and finally watch it. So without kind of killing too much of it, without going into the plot too heavy, because I mean it is, as I say, a whole season with following seasons, but at base value we're introduced to Marty Bird, and I will say this now, I have no idea why, I bloody hate the character's name, and every time it's said it really annoys me, and I don't know whether that's intentional, whether it's just like one of those weird quirky arsehole things of me, but yeah, I really get annoyed every time his name is said. But he is an accountant, or let's say an investor, but I think more kind of accountant investor. And you're introduced to him. He's recommended, or he's listening to someone who's talking about money they have and where they might want to invest. While he's sat there and he's watching on his laptop behind the other side of the desk, what looks like a home video or a live home video feed of a woman having sex with a man, but the woman is obscured. You can't see who the woman is. Then his partner comes in and kind of lets him know that he's seen him watch this movie and kind of breaks him. Come on, mate, like, you know, stop watching porn when the clients are here. And Marty seems quite kind of detached. He seems very kind of quiet, listful, and not enjoying his loud partner, and maybe not enjoying the life that he has. Then you go home and you meet his wife, and his wife has made him dinner, and they sit around the dinner table together, and there's some tension between husband and wife, although it seems to be more from husband's side. You meet his daughter and his son, and his daughter is in very kind of traditional American fashion, of an age where she's going out a lot more, so she's asking them for money and wants to go out and do things that maybe they don't want them to do. While the kid is there, sat at the table, a bit more of a geeky kid, but clearly has a bit of a side to him. He's sort of saying some stuff that the parents are a little bit uncomfortable with. So a very, very kind of traditional setup. Then during the course of the evening, you kind of twig that the person that he was watching on the video was his wife, and his wife is having an affair. He goes out, gets a prostitute, has a fantasy while she is in the car that she is giving him a blowjob, but it is all in his mind. So almost you're kind of learning that this man wants to do things, but probably isn't going to go through with them. And that's either because he's either a coward or a man of honor. We don't know yet. Then he gets a phone call from his partner, and he says, "You've got to come to wherever the place is now, because so and so is in town, and you don't know who this person is." So off Bateman goes, and so is the leader of the Mexican cartel, and he is there, and he has like Bateman's partner, and someone who runs the warehouse, and that person's kid by gunpoint, because some money and some part of a shipment has gone missing.
The traditional drugs going missing. Well, piss off, Mr. Cartel.
Well, and the thing is, there is a lot of really generic elements to it, and it doesn't do anything massively different to the way you've seen that part of the story told before. But I will say, even at these early stages, even though it's doing it quite generically, there's something about it. There's something interesting about it. Like I couldn't quite tell you what it is. I mean, maybe it's just the way it looks, or I think partially it's almost a resignation that you see in Bateman's character. You know, he's clearly going for a bad patch, and I think he's a bit like, oh, for fuck's sake, like, Now my partner's done this. The thing we said we'd never do because we were earning good money. Bollocks to it. Partner gets killed. The 2 warehouse people get killed, and it's just Bateman left. And Bateman looks like he's kind of like, all right, kill me. And then just as like he's about to be killed, he goes, or I could make you a load more money. And they're going, well, what do you mean make you a load more money? And this is where the title of the show comes from. And he had earlier in the show just randomly picked up a leaflet and started reading it. But it's about a place called Ozark. And it is like a relatively large town, I would say, in America, but has a tourist trade. Like kind of has, as a tourist coming in, but it has like fishing business and all these sort of things. And he says to the cartel guy, at the moment where we are, you're having to try and smuggle stuff in and pay loads of money to local police or to bigger police because they're in the city and to get this through. Whereas I know of this place, and not only will you be able to bring your drugs in here for nothing because it's not going to be guarded because it's a small place, but actually we can launder our money on site because I can invest in all the local businesses. And that is what Bateman does. Bateman's character, and as I said about being an investor, he's a money launderer, basically. He goes around and so say you had a business, I'd come to you and say, oh, I think we can make your business more profitable if we did this, this, and this. We will pay for it, and we will only take proceeds out when you start making a profit. And that's how you launder the money. Now, as I say, I don't want to go too spoiler heavy, but the rest of the first season is about him establishing himself in this town called Ozark. But the cartel aren't, that sounds brilliant. They do say to him, here are your, it almost feels like a work thing when they go, here are your goals. You need to make this much by end of week 1, this much by end of week, like end of month 1. Then we feel like the premise is there. And if not, we're going to kill you and your family. The wife knows that he's a money launderer. The kids didn't. So he tells the wife and says they're going. Obviously, the kids are resistant, but they do end up telling the kids really early because I think they're kind of, there is a threat. So you have this family unit that is in major conflict with each other. The wife and the husband aren't getting on. The kids aren't so happy about it. They move to a new town. They know the cartel might kill them. And the rest of the series is about how he does what he does. And I will say, not everything goes brilliant. This isn't a show where he clearly has
the Breaking Bad model then, where
it
works.
Do you know what though? I think there is a lot, and I'm very, very tippy-toey into comparing this to Breaking Bad. I think there are some real comparative points to it, like because you have criminal drug elements, but with a person who doesn't seem like a criminal, but he is, because he's clearly involved in it, and he's done it for sort of personal gain and for his family gain. But he isn't the person at this stage who's going out there and doing bad things, shooting people, things like that. He's happy to kind of have his mid-management role in it, and again, he's quite clear. He never would have stolen from the cartel because he was happy with how much he was getting.
Yeah,
but as much as some episodes he invests in a business and it goes well, and you see some money coming out. For every step forward, there's a couple of steps back. So he starts to meet who are the local gangsters, because it might be a small town, but there's bad people that live in that town. He starts to invest in a local church because that's a good way to launder money. But then the church find out that he's actually trying to launder money, and so react slightly different than maybe you or I would, because there's that kind of moral religious code to it. And I just think it's a really smart, really interesting way of looking at a money launderer, and a money launderer whose back is against the wall. And also, as I say, I don't want to lean too far away from looking at a family dynamic and how a family that is broken is put in a really difficult situation. And who knows, maybe they fix themselves. At the moment, it looks like they'll continue to get more broken, but I'm really fascinated by it. I think I'm in for the long haul now. And almost at this stage, I asked myself, why did I wait so long? And I almost feel stupid for waiting for so long. However, the nice thing about waiting so long is I've got 4 seasons I can bang, or another 3 seasons I can bang through now.
See, that sounds very similar to when because I didn't touch Breaking Bad until it had finished, so I could just crack right through all of it in one go. As I said, I watched the trailer for this earlier, and I agree, very much the Breaking Bad sort of dingy look to it.
Yeah.
It looks very interesting.
There's a weird greyish feel to Chris that seems to be constantly on the camera, and of course a lot of the buildings are grey, and I think a lot of it is probably filmed maybe almost in autumn time, but for most of it everything feels grey, and I don't know, it's weirdly powerful. It's really weirdly compelling watching it.
But yeah, no, it's one of those. As I said, I watched it. I'm like, I'm intrigued by this. It's definitely one that will go on the list because it's on Netflix and it's a Netflix exclusive.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is definitely something that I will have a go with at some point. Again, when I have some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does look interesting, and because you said about that, so obviously Bateman's the only real named guy that's in this.
He's really good in it, by the way. You know, like we've said this before about comedians or people who are primarily known for comedic roles playing more serious ones. I think with this, it did take me, even though I thought he was really good from episode 1, I will say it did take me a couple of episodes not to expect a punchline.
Yeah.
I kept thinking there's going to be a punchline here. But no, I think he's really good. And I will say that there's lots of people in the cast who I either didn't know at all, or like you go, oh God, I'm sure I've seen them in the background of something before. But I would say across the board, so far in season 1, there is not a single actor who I don't think isn't doing a bloody brilliant job in the roles that they have to play, except for maybe in episode 1, his partner. But again, he weren't around for long, so bollocks to it. Like, yeah.
But yeah, no, it sounds good. I definitely will have a look at that.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I would heartily recommend it to anyone, especially people who have watched things like Breaking Bad before and liked them. Although I'm always cautious about when you say something like Breaking Bad, because I mean, I love Breaking Bad, and I know a lot of people did, and some people might go, well, you told me it's not Breaking Bad, it's nowhere near as good. I'm not saying that. I just think if you like that sort of story, this is in that wheelhouse.
Yeah. I said it's one of those of, you pretty much know the sort of shit that I like to watch, so...
Yeah.
You know,
and I know you like the colour grey, so yep, you'll be right in for this. In fact, I just said about how compelling I found it because it was grey.
Yeah.
I think I know why I might like that show now with my my extensive range of grey hoodies. How about yourself? What have you been watching?
So I've been watching something that is not grey at all. It's very flamboyant and gay and cowboy and tigery. I have been watching Joe versus Carol, the HBO adaptation of the Tiger King saga. This is let's start at the beginning. I fucking loved the Tiger King. That was perfect timing in lockdown one when that came out, and I ate that up. Getting just Joe Exotic is fucking hilarious, and I saw a tiger saw a man. Songs for days. I want the albums. That's I'm all for those songs.
Are there albums, by the way? I've never bothered to look.
Yeah, there's free albums, but you can't get them anywhere because obviously
I imagine they're even harder to get now as well, aren't they? Like
because he didn't have a record deal, they could only really be bought from the zoo. The fact of obviously by the time the Tiger King documentary came out, he was already in prison. The zoo was already fucked. Yeah, it is impossible. For a while, the videos were on YouTube. They did get brought down, but they went back up. And some of the stuff for a little bit around the time when the show first came out was on Spotify, but then that all disappeared off quickly as well. But yeah, so
bastards.
Yeah, absolute fuckers. So this is basically a dramatization of the story that is so strange that the reality of it, you think it would be a fucking drama. Joe versus Carol fucking Baskin, fucking bitch.
Every time you say Joe versus, I think you're going to say versus the volcano because it's one of my least favourite movies of all time, and it sends shivers down my spine.
So just basically goes through everything from the Tiger King documentary, but sort of more extended and more filled out versions. Surprisingly, they even managed to get a decent actor in there. We get Kyle MacLachlan, who plays Howard Baskin. And
I was going to say I saw him in the cast and I wondered who he was playing.
Yeah, he plays Howard, and it's one of those of like, how have they actually got someone good in this? But yeah, no, this is. If you liked the documentary, you'll enjoy this because this is basically a retelling of that. Everyone has picked up on the characteristics of that fucking madcap bunch. You know, Howard is Howard. It is, really weird incel personality. Carol is Carol, the annoying cat lady that she is. Joe is as crazy as expecting and, likes to be Joe and, big, fancy and gay. Yeah, I fucking love this. So this is 8 episodes of just joy for me.
So I've got a really big question here, and yes. It might kind of lead you down. So is this just a show with actors doing the thing that I watched 2 years ago?
Pretty much, but it's a dramatized version of it. So you get a lot more of, instead of it just being obviously the footage and the random bits and stuff like that, it goes off on extra bits on there, and you go into what Carol and Don's life was like, which obviously they mention in the show, but you obviously don't get any footage of it because they weren't filming it. So they sort of fill out bits of it. But yeah, it is basically just, as I said, it's a retelling of the documentary.
Because when you said like it's what you watched, and I googled it, and I saw that, I saw the visual, and it's I don't know the actor, I don't know the guy's name, the guy who plays Joe, but it's Kate McKinnon. It's Kate McKinnon who plays Karen, isn't it? And I've seen her in some Saturday Night Live sketches and things like that before, and I kind of saw that flash up, and I went, "Is this the Tiger King people?" And then I left it then because I wanted to hear what it was from you. But the whole kind of way through, I'm thinking, I really hope this isn't just. That's how bereft we are creatively these days, that we're having to do a TV show that was a TV show that was done in the last 2 years. I don't understand this, Chris.
I don't know why it was done, but I was enthralled to watch it because it was what it was, because of it being Joe and Carol. Because obviously, I could have quite easily just rewatched the original documentary and the second one and tried to find the other ones.
By the way, I've never seen the second one. Is it any good?
It goes more on the parts of Joe trying to get out and how they tried to get Trump to pardon him and how it all failed. And
I don't understand how that would have gone wrong. Because the thing is, it is the sort of thing that you go, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, go and see President Trump. He'll sort it, and he probably would. So I don't see how that didn't work out for them.
So and there's a more on what's his face, Jeff Lowe, and him being a slimy fucking cunt, and him getting taken down after the show aired. And the thing is, then they did a second or another one after that, which they then do a deep dive on Doc and his weird fucking cabal of getting young girls in to be sex slaves because he's got an elephant and a cat.
There's not many people who've got an elephant and a cat, is there? So I guess it's that selling point. I mean, for me, for context, I guess for you is I do not share your love for Tiger King. I liked Tiger King. I liked it for about an episode and a half. I watched all of it, but about an episode and a half in. And again, don't get me wrong, what an amazing spectacle, because this is, oh my God, this stuff can't really be real, can it? And you kind of go, yeah, okay, it is. And I felt like it was layers and layers, but I for me, it burned itself out really quickly, because once that shock value of going, oh my God, they can't really be doing this, that wore off really quickly. And I went, well, now I'm not shocked 2 episodes in. Like every time you layer someone else on, I just go, oh yeah, it's that dude who I wish and I hope I never have to meet in real life, and that woman who I hope I never have to meet in real life, and I'm glad I don't live their lives. So, but I understand why like that season was a phenomenon, because I think I can see why it resonates. Like I think even if you told me this was the best TV show you've ever watched, I don't think I could bring myself to watch it. Like I don't want to watch that 5 episodes as a documentary again, let alone that story being sprung out into 8 episodes. And also, Carl McLaughlin, I like. You know, I said I know Kate McKinnon. I think she's pretty shit, and I don't want to see them kind of on the telly. This feels like, and maybe because I've only seen her in Saturday Night Live, this feels like a couple of pricks from Saturday Night Live trying to make some money out of a story that was popular only 2 years ago, that has already been on there, that I can watch it. And also, I guess it isn't done in a documentary format. And I think that was one of the things that was charming about Tiger King, is that you were getting these things in like different video formats and different ways, but you were kind of having the story delivered by that. But yeah, I mean, I think my recoil on it is I don't like Tiger King. I don't hold it in the reference that I know a lot of people did at the time, and I feel like that reference has even dropped off for a lot of people. And my God, the idea of revisiting this, and I know you said it fleshes bits out, but this sounds to me like Cash in fucking City, because I don't think they've got a lot more than probably what you've seen. And I don't get it. I don't get why it even exists, other than someone going, quick way to make a buck this, and I couldn't do it.
So
shivers down my spine, Chris.
NBC, the Peacock is the creator of this.
Well, there you go. I mean, like like this is not a company I hold in much reverence, and a company that I think would sell their souls to the devil for a $5. So yeah. And then also there's a part of me that goes, I know it's a story. I know it is it's Joe's story, it's Carol's story, it's all those people that's in its story. But let's be honest, it's the people who made that documentary, and that people who made that documentary for Netflix, its story. And now some pricks have just come along and remade it with shitty Hollywood actors in it. But it could still be good, don't get me wrong, but I just can't imagine me ever going near this.
I think it's definitely one for if you liked Tiger King. Yeah.
If you like Tiger King, do you honestly think there's enough in there that is different to make it worth it? Or are we talking like Tiger King super fan levels? Like the extra bits they add into the story, does it really make a difference? Like and And sorry, I don't mean to absolutely pan this, not on date night, but Jesus, bring Tiger King, mate, and this is what you get.
Yeah, no, it's what I suppose you could get away with never having it. You know, does it need to exist? Not really. Would the world miss it? Not really. Did it feel 8 hours when I got home from when me and the other half gets home from work and she doesn't want to watch anything that we have to think about? Yeah, it feels that.
I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, like you say about like, does the world need it? I mean, shit, you can argue that the world doesn't need a great deal, but I just think if this was 10 years later, I could maybe see it. But it's
I
2
suppose
years
the fact
ago.
of it only being a couple of years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Though, the concept of time has changed since,
That is
the end
true. Yeah,
times.
yeah. We have been through 800 years in the last 2 years. But I think that's where I really, really, really disconnect with it, of going, like, unless you're telling me something dramatically different here, then why would I watch this story again with, and I say for me, actors that I don't really like? I don't get it. Don't get it.
Well, as I said, it's one of those. I think it's a very niche thing for it, but yeah, it's there, it's out there. And as I said, I enjoyed it. So,
when you say NBC and Peacock, what channel is it on? Is it on?
it's on
Sky?
Now over here.
Okay, yeah, cool.
It's on the Now.
The Now. I feel like I need to re-up on my subscription with Now at some point, because it's been a while. Like, I can't remember the last time I had it. And there's probably a lot of stuff on there that
this week.
I can't watch it. I haven't seen Suicide Squad yet.
Get on it.
Suicide Squad is on Sky Movies, and I'm saying that with a question mark on it because I don't know. Which I also don't have Sky Movies at the moment. So, do you know what? Like, I will give Peacemaker a go if I like Suicide Squad, which I think it will, because I quite like James Gunn stuff. And I have heard through our WhatsApp group that Peacemaker is really good. And you know me, I'll give anything a go, probably apart from Joe versus Carol. But I do not want to watch a John Cena TV show, and I know it will. Even if it is good, I know that will impact my enjoyment of it. I don't want to watch a 15-minute match with him in, let alone him on screen for 45 minutes. But I'll give it a go, but it will be through gritted teeth. And even if I enjoy it, I know I won't want to have. I'll feel dirty.
To be fair, watching him in Suicide Squad, he is actually good. And I'm looking forward to watching Peacemaker. It's one of those I think the plan is me and Sarah will be watching it next week.
Is the whole season on there? Like, is it kind of the whole lot's dropped and you can watch? Cool.
Yeah, and I think they're only about half an hour long each. I don't think they're massively long episodes.
And with my modern way of watching TV, like, I want to know that before I go into it, because my God, if you make me watch it weekly, it will annoy me. So yeah, it's good to know that it actually exists on there. But I will probably, my priority will be getting Suicide Squad watched, and if I like that enough, I'll watch Peacemaker. However, again, in the grand scheme of things, bearing in mind our love, we talked earlier about comic books, and we do a comic book podcast. There's so many things that are higher on it in the list for me. Like I said about Ozark, like, I can't see myself putting that above Ozark season 2, 3, 4, and things like that. I think sometimes, certainly with the comic book stuff, and like maybe the more genre fiction stuff, it's really easy to get drawn into. Oh yeah, that thing's come out. Let's do that. And there's loads of shit that I know I really want to watch that I'm not getting to. So I think 2022, which I know we are quite a way through it now, is going to be a year of much more hard decisions, not being sucked into things that I'd normally be sucked into before and going, shit, dude, you had 2 years where you could have worked through that Netflix watch list and you did nothing but add to it. So, it's going to be a lot more of a year of picking and choosing what I watch, because I know I really want to see it, rather than maybe getting drawn into it because it has a connection with someone else that I like.
Yeah. So the end of the fad year.
Yeah. Although you watch, I'll get drawn straight back in. Straight away. Because I'm a mindless sheep, like we all are, really.
So that is us for this evening.
P.S. I know we didn't say, but one of the things I'd said to Chris beforehand, and like, there was no desire to rush this, but I said, do you know what? It would be lovely to maybe do it and kind of hit our beats and come in under 2 hours. And I know I'm still talking, but 1 hour, 59 minutes and 48 seconds. So we've done it.
smashed it.
Ish.
So as always, like, subscribe, follow the page. Look, down there. All of those ones down there. Also, at Said Lacey Comic for comic book stash info. Watch all the stuff on the channel. Do it. We've got nothing better to do at the weekend. Crack on. And until next time. And next week, when I won't be here, but Said will.
You know me. I don't like to. I don't like to miss out on a Friday night. I ain't got a life, have I? So it's. What else am I going to do? And Andrea likes to be able to eat meat in the house without me looking at her judgingly. So that's why I have to come up here on a Friday night.
Though, you know, could be worse. She could be slaughtering it in the living room.
To be honest, she might be. I don't know, Chris. When I'm up here, I don't know. And because I've got these earbuds in, like she could be. She could be down there running a homemade abattoir. But I don't. I hope not. Is the honest truth.
So until next week, goodbye.